Yes, I did move all my fish to a brand new fish room. If you haven't seen part 1, go check it out right there. But this is part 2. You ready? Let's go. It's our first time at the new location, and the very first thing I did was grab all of the fish in the buckets and get them inside. I did it so fast that we even missed the chance to film it. Next thing we did was grab the stands, get them inside, and we're gonna get our first taste of unloading the tank and trying to get it in here. From the look on my face, I think you can tell how heavy this thing was, especially lifting it from the ground up. All in the knees, all in the legs. Do not try to lift something like this with your back because you are gonna get hurt. This 150 is heavy. This is the little tank. Bruh. Let's go, Flaco. Now that the tank is over at the new location, I want to get Flaco Dos and Scuba the Second over there right away. They are the first ones that are being transferred over just because they're in these really small totes and I don't want them in there for any amount of time longer than they need to be. We had to get a little intuitive with my old couch. You'll see. So as I walk Scuba to the truck, I want to make sure that he's doing okay. So I just take a quick look at him. He's doing fine. He doesn't know what's going on, but he'll be all right. Time to fill up this tank. The fish are in the buckets. Been long enough. Here's my water source, guys. I got a sink in the closet that's got a hot and cold line. We're gonna connect the regular garden hose to the hot and cold, and then we're gonna be able to fill up the tank super quick and easy. It's the first time trying it. Hopefully it works. Let's go. I forgot my handy dandy clamp, but we're gonna have enough holes in here that should fill without problem. All right. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Nothing. Gotta work out some kinks. Literally.
Works.
Yeah, as a science project.
Just gonna check the temperature with my hand. It feels kind of warm. This is exactly what we need right now. Here's where our products are gonna come in handy. This water is not dechlorinated. So I'm gonna go ahead and add prime to this entire tank right now. 100-gallon cap. Added 200 gallons worth, just to be on the safe side. It's not gonna hurt anything. Then, because I'm sure that we absolutely lost some beneficial bacteria during all this movement and transfer, stability. Gonna make sure I have enough in here to help boost the production of new beneficial bacteria. So 1 cap is good for 20 gallons. Wish I had my bigger measuring cup. So that's 20. I forgot to put the sand back in, so we're gonna stop the water right now and get the sand in first.
What is wrong with you?
See, while you're doing all this commotion, you gotta make sure that you're not skipping any steps, but this is what happens. This is real life. Let's get the sand in. This sand is dirty. Take a look. Probably got some poop in it. It's got some pieces of driftwood in there. It's dirty sand, but right now, it's okay because there's some beneficial bacteria in that sand, and we don't want to put everything brand new, brand spanking clean right now. We want to preserve as much beneficial bacteria in the sand, on the background, inside the filters, as much as we can, because we're going to fully stock this tank right away. So we got to make sure that it stays cycled. Take a look at the tank. Come up here. Check it out. It's not looking pretty. That looks really dirty, a bunch of crap in there. But right now, we're not concerned about looking pretty. The priority is not making the tank look pretty right now. The priority is getting these fish in here in a stabilized water parameter so that they can get out of these temporary buckets. Later on, maybe the next video, we'll get back to looking pretty, don't worry. Third product we talked about was Seachem Stress Guard. You already know these fish are stressed, so I'm gonna add plenty of stress guard to this tank to make sure everybody's okay when they go in. One 5 milliliter cap, good for 10 gallons. I'm not really counting them. I'm not trying to be exact, it's okay. Start these filters back up. So we gotta get these FX6s back on the tank, hooked up, connected, and water running through them to make sure we're preserving as much BB in them as possible. I know I keep mentioning the same thing, but that's why it's so important. You don't wanna add all that fish, all that stock at the same time to a tank that doesn't have enough beneficial bacteria. Yes, we are gonna always use our prime and stability, but you'll be better off if you keep as much bacteria alive as possible. So I gave myself this access behind the tank. One, because I have this closet door over here that I need to get access to when I get stored stuff inside of here. And number two, because it's just gonna be easier hooking up these hoses back here. Installing these hoses is super simple and easy. Fluval makes it that way. I understand why many people can be intimidated by a new canister and by the hoses. I was as well, I remember that clearly. But once you learn how to do it, once you got it down packed, you can do it 100 times with your eyes closed and you'll have no problems hooking up these hoses to your tank. Yes, I always put my intakes behind the background. I keep both of them back there. What I will be doing this time around is putting both my intakes here on this left side of the tank, just because I did have a little bit of an issue with a dead spot in the tank, but having both intakes on one side is going to fix that problem. After installing the second FX6 onto the 150 and placing the output in the middle of the tank pointing to the right, I'll explain why having both intakes on one side is beneficial. So I'm going to put the intake on this side so that both intakes are on one side of the tank at the bottom and both outputs are pushing water to the right of the tank at the surface, which will essentially create a circular motion to the right on the top and to the left across the bottom, and hopefully that eliminates that dead spot that I had. Filters are all hooked up, tank is full to the top. I got the temperature to about 81.5 degrees. Inputs and outputs are where they go. We're about to plug it in and get these filters running. Let's go. Bueno. Now, this is gonna be totally normal that you're gonna blow out a bunch of gunk and dirty water because the hose is removed. Remember, we didn't drain the FX6s, so all the dirty gunk that was caught up in the sponges is now being released into the tank. But that's totally fine. In like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you'll notice that the filters will re-suck all this stuff back up. And remember, this is what we want. A dirty tank is a cycle tank. All of this life that's going on inside the tank is going to keep the tank cycled and keep the water safe for the fish. So we're going to give it some time, let it clear up a little bit, and we'll be back to start adding the fish. I don't want to add them right now because it looks like mud in here, but we'll add them in a second. Decided to just hang out and wait for the tank to clear up because I didn't want to leave Flaco and Scuba alone while we started something else. The tank has cleared up enough that we're ready to add fish, and the first one's going in is Flaco 2 de Arowana, Scuba the second, the Stingray, because they need the most space out of everybody and they've been in the smallest tank. So let's get them in there first. Here we go. Next, let's go ahead and grab Scuba the second, get him out of here. Now, like I said, I know the tank looks horrible on the substrate. I'm not doing any vacuuming right now. I'm not doing a tank cleaning. I'm leaving this as dirty as possible. We're gonna get these fish in here first and settle, then I'll clean up after. Flaco, chill. Flaco, chill. Chill. So you guys notice Scuba has already buried himself into the sand, which is how he gets the most comfortable. So I'm glad he's doing it because that means he's relaxing. That's what we need right now, some relaxed fish. But you can notice that he is still breathing even while buried under the sand. That means he's in chill mode. Now we're ready to add the rest of these fish into the tank. We're gonna get the buckets just a little bit closer and we'll get to one by one, adding them in to their new home. All right, all the fish are out. Everybody made it. Everybody made it. All the fish are in there. I can't believe it. Everybody made it. They all look super stressed out right now. But what we're gonna do is cut the lights in here. I'm gonna leave the room to go start setting up the next tank. And hopefully they all keep nice and calm. We already put plenty of stress guard in here. There's stability, there's prime. I'm just gonna cut the lights and leave them alone. And hopefully everybody does okay. One down. Now it's time for the 210. Then after that, we go 75. Let's do it. Draining this tank is going to be super quick and easy using my Vivison 2400 gallon per hour water pump. As usual, same way I do any and all of my water changes. I almost forgot to fill the tote with their tank water, but luckily I caught it in time. Thanks to Henry Lopez right there. Thank you.
Welcome, KaveMan Aquatics.
Well, you shot, Henry. This is my secret stash of crushed coral, which helps to keep the pH up in the African cichlid tank. I hide it inside this nice and hollow rock. This is going with me. Now we begin removing the fish from the 210, putting them into the temporary tote where they'll be standing by while we move the tanks. Keep in mind that this temporary tote does have plenty of surface agitation and a heater in it. Yes, this many fish are gonna be totally okay in this temporary tote. There isn't gonna be any aggression because none of them know where they really are, but there are a few things that you do wanna do to this water. As usual, we're gonna add Seachem Prime to detoxify the ammonia that is going to accumulate inside this temporary tote. And we're gonna add stress guard to make sure everybody is nice and calm and chill. Now we begin the super fun part of removing all of this sand substrate from the tank. Yes, I know that you could also use a sand vac, but I found that filling that thing, dumping it out, restarting, just as much work as my handy dandy dustpan. Sometimes you need help, because this is hard work. Will you look at this? This tank slides so easy. I wonder if it'll even be heavy at all. Looking to make sure that nobody's hiding back behind the background. Looks clear, Captain. Compared to the 150 gallon tank, this thing came off like butter. I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised at how light this thing actually was. I think in my mind, I just expected it to be so heavy, or maybe the 150 was kind of like a warm-up and I psyched myself out. But surprisingly very light, the 210. Or so I thought. I don't know who did that paint job on the back of the tank, but I see a lot of drips and a lot of bad looking work. I wonder who did that. Well, I'll have a link for you guys right up here.
Son, you're right.
So this is the break spot. After taking the tank from outside the house, we're taking a break right here to figure out how to get it to the truck. These are my old couches that are going in the garbage, so don't worry about it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. So obviously sand and water in the tank is gonna make it heavier, but making sure to remove nearly all of the sand and water from the 210 ensured that it was gonna be much lighter than I thought it was going to be. We even had a brake spot set up right here outside the fence, but we blew right past that, decided to keep going.
Henry Lopez, grab the side again. Yep, grab that side, that's the heavy side. Up straight.
At this point, I can honestly say that I
Watch your head,
started to
Alon.
feel the weight of the tank. I felt it in my back, my shoulders, and even in my hands. The grip was getting loose. Setting this thing down, if you don't use your legs, you're gonna be in big trouble. But that doesn't mean that doing the right thing and using your legs won't have its own repercussions. Ask my buddy right here.
With my jeans.
What happened to your jeans, bro?
I saw you.
A good laugh while you're working hard never hurt anyone, makes the job that much better. But back to work. While setting up the stand for the 210, I took a quick peek at the 150 and noticed everybody on fire. Must be nice when you have 100% water change. Up we go. Nope. That first attempt absolutely failed. This tank feels like stones right now, and lifting it from the ground up is a problem. But we got it up with the three of us.
Watch your head.
Yes, I gotta come down. Go ahead.
Listen, if I ever said that this tank was light, you can call me a liar right to my face, because this thing weighs a ton. And we had to take multiple resting stops. We had to take multiple breaks because this thing was killing me. We had to rest it on our legs, on our thighs, which I have the black and blues to prove it the couple of days after moving this. We had to get through this tight squeeze here in the side of my house to get to the back. And you had to adjust your grip to the inside of the tank rather than the outside to get past the fence post to get in the door. But as you can see, I'm struggling hard right here because this thing weighs a lot.
3, 2,
You got it. You got it. Let's
1,
go.
go.
Even resting it on my leg, I
Hello,
can
watch your
feel
back.
the weight on my thighs and I can feel the pain in my legs. But we had to keep going.
Break down.
Looking forward to this little break spot that we got set up here because I had to put this thing down. Not really that far of a distance away, we had to set up another break spot. And mostly because our muscles are depleted right now. So picking this thing up after a little 5-minute break, you get tired right away again. After another quick 5-minute break, we go at it again. This time going in through the door, which is the tough part because of the grip that we need to have to make it through the doorway. This puts a lot of pressure on your arms, a lot of pressure in your fingers and your hands.
The bucket behind you.
One more break, resting on the thighs before we get to the stand. Even though the stand is literally like 3 feet away from us, we had to stop and take a break.
Hold on, hold on. It's not on the back yet. No. Stop me.
Speechless. Well, I began adding back the black diamond blasting sand to the 210. I'm glad I didn't forget this time. Let me just say, I know that many of you are going to suggest that I should have used the suction cups, which would have made carrying the tanks a little bit easier. At the time, in my mind, I really did not trust the suction cups at all. I just visualized the tanks slipping off of them and cracking into a million pieces. But I can say that after speaking with my new tank supplier, and his confidence in the suction cups that he uses, I am now a 100% believer, and I will absolutely be using the suction cups when my tank upgrade is ready to go. The 210 is finally full, the filters are on and running, and now we gotta add the two main products, which is Cichlid Lake Salt and Malawi Buffer. These are the two products that I use to both make my water harder for African cichlids and keep the pH high and stable for them, which is exactly how they like it. All right, now it's time to get these fish into these individual buckets. We're gonna try to divide them up equally, and then we're gonna transfer them from these buckets into the truck, into the new location. Let's go. These guys stayed in this tote longer than any other fish during any other tank move. Mainly because the 210 was that heavy and it just took that long. But I can tell you that everybody in here was doing absolutely fine. They could have stayed in here probably for an entire day, if not even overnight. Tried my best to get an even number into each bucket, so no one bucket was more populated than the other. I don't know how well I did, but let's head on over to the new fish cave. Everyone made it without any problems. Everybody's doing okay. Nobody's struggling. Everybody's still kind of active. Except of course my big old albino pleco that never moves at all, except at nighttime. Gordo's doing well, everybody's looking good. While I start scaping the tank with the one piece of decor that I have in here, just wanted to remind you guys that I do keep a bag of crushed coral hidden underneath this rock, and that is my backup source of buffering power for the tank. Just like with the 150, we're gonna scoop them up out of the buckets, get them into the tank one by one. You guys have seen this before, so I'm just gonna speed through and get it done. I'm soaking wet, both from fish water and my own sweat, but it was a successful day. We got everybody transferred over here, both tanks, everybody made it. I had no losses, thank goodness. Day 2, let's get pretty. Just walking in the room this morning, my guys spent their first night alone in the new fish cave. And everybody's looking good and doing good. Spent the night all by themselves here. And today we're gonna get to cleaning. It's time to clean up, get this place looking nice and pretty because it's dirty. We got a lot of stuff to do. A lot of work. Figured this would be a great opportunity to clean the stands a bit as they were very dirty. No better time than when they're all empty. And then started to restock all my product, nice and organized, the way I wanna see it, the way I'm gonna try to keep it. Remember that the work doesn't end just because your tanks are set up and your fish are in there. You gotta clean up your space. So I did a whole bunch of sweeping, I did a whole bunch of mopping, but I finally got the room, the floor at least, to look as clean as possible before showing you guys the 95% complete KaveMan FishKave. Hope you enjoyed that, but guess what? Part 3 of the new FishKave Series finale is gonna be absolute fire. Why? Because we're getting a brand new 450-gallon tank up in here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you over there. Peace.